Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to be talking about my jet lag mitigation protocol. So this is my introduction to biohacking back in 2017 when I took a trip to Bhutan, which has the happiest people in the world. But it was like a 14-hour flight from St. Louis at that time, and I really didn't know anything about jet lag mitigation other than taking melatonin on the plane. So decided to do some research at that point back in 2017 and came upon some blue blocking glasses. Did not understand the science at that time, but wore the glasses on the plane. Yeah, I'll show you some of the pairs I wore on this most recent trip. But when I got back from that trip and my jet lag wasn't as severe as I expected, I went deep down the rabbit hole of how light affects your biology. And so therefore, that's why I talk so much about circadian rhythms and mitochondrial health now in my cardiology practice that focuses on heart attack prevention. Well, one of my passions is world travel, and just got back from an amazing trip in Croatia, Bosnia, and Slovenia, as well as Italy for one day, and flew back yesterday. So I woke up in Venice yesterday morning about 4 a.m., over 10 hours of traveling, got back to St. Louis around 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I'm going to teach you how I mitigate the jet lag in less than 24 hours. I basically still have no jet lag. Now we'll see, it's 6 p.m. Central Time right now. We'll see what time I go to bed. I don't suspect it's going to be super early, but I think I've already kind of hacked the things that really drove bad jet lag in the past for me. So circadian rhythms are key. Your 24-hour cycles, mainly programmed by the light that enters your eyes and the time that the nutrients come into your system. So I've obviously done many videos in the past talking about the blue blocking glasses and time restricted eating. So I definitely incorporated that into my protocol. So one of the things that I do is I use an app called Time Shifter. I'll put a kind of a screenshot of the app in my stories after this IG Live is done, show you how it's done. It is a paid app, but I find it worthwhile to use. There is a kind of a yearly subscription or a one-off trip. So usually you just do the one-off trips. Usually I think it's like $10 to put in all your information. You basically plug in all your flight information, and it tells you, if you're going to add caffeine, if you drink caffeine, if you're going to do melatonin, it tells you exactly what time of day is to do those things, when to expose yourself to bright light, when to avoid bright light, when to sleep. And it basically tries to, at least 2 days before you travel, start phase shifting you. So it's always harder to travel eastbound because you're compressing the day shorter. Traveling westbound isn't necessarily as hard. So it tries to shift you by making you go to bed an hour earlier for a day, an hour earlier 2 days before, and then you're waking up an hour earlier. So my normal wake up time is around 5 a.m. So by the day this protocol is working, I'm usually getting up at 3 a.m. But if you follow this protocol from the Time Shifter app, generally the jet lag is going to be pretty minimal. I also decided to treat myself to a upgraded watch for this trip. Might be hard to see upside down, but got a Mito Ocean Star GMT, which has 2 time zones, but I also played around a little bit with one of my Casio World Timer, like the old school 1980s calculator watches, but you can have multiple time zones. So I set the time zone to Rome, which is the most close time zone to Croatia. So right now it's 1:04 a.m. So technically I should be completely asleep at this point, but I kind of fixed my jet lag, and so I don't feel that tired right at this point. So essentially the second you're on the plane, you should really start trying to live like you're going to be in your future time zone. So on the plane, if it was daytime in Croatia, I had these blue blocking glasses on that filter out about 40% of the light. If it was nighttime in Croatia, I flipped over to what I call the Unabomber version. So these are my original pair that I wore back in 2017 going to Thailand. They block out 100% of blue light, 100% of green light, and everything looks like the Terminator when you have these things on. These things will put me unconscious in about 30 minutes if I wear them. So on the plane, usually we're going to be either a hat or hoodie, so I'm not getting a bunch of junk light from above, and go to sleep when I'm supposed to go to sleep. So on the plane, I always had these things on. As for supplements, don't mind sharing, but I won't go necessarily into dosing, but did take some magnesium, did take some phosphatidylserine, kind of knocks down cortisol, did take some melatonin. So you've probably heard me in the past that I'm a big fan of taking oral melatonin on a routine basis, because you should be making melatonin because it's a hormone with the light exposures. It's supposed to get released when there's darkness. But if you take oral melatonin, you can somewhat try to push forward your circadian rhythms. It basically tells your body, oh, it must be nighttime if melatonin is rising. So for jet lag, I'm okay with people doing short pulses of melatonin. This time I did not do the Doc Parsley's sleep remedy, but I've done this in the past. Make a little tea out of it. It has the magnesium, melatonin, L-theanine in it. You know, sometimes it's worked for me, sometimes not. So this time I didn't do it. I didn't really notice any difference without using it. Do have a couple other gadgets I did play around with. So I do have something called by a company called Valkey, but it's the human charger. Looks like an old school iPod, but you press down the little button, the little ring of light goes on. You have these little ear pods, and you wear them in your ear, and it shines through your eardrum, putting very bright light into your brain that it's daytime. So when the circadian app told me I needed to get bright light exposure, I was using this thing. You know, if I could, you know, I could be outside when I'm sitting in a plane. Also brought it with me, did not use it on the plane this time, used it one time after the plane, but used the CareWear patches. They're the LED diodes that you can put on your skin. So usually we put it on your wrist area. It's kind of a smaller version of my Weber Spectre watch. So I did use this the morning that I flew out, but I didn't travel with it because previously in the past I traveled with this thing and I always got stopped at TSA when I had this thing in my bag. So I won't tend to bring this with me unless it's going to be a major trip and I got to be on my best. So I knew I had a little bit of time to kind of recover in Croatia before my main trip started, but ended up not needing it this time. But I did use this earlier this morning. The red light goes into your radial artery, charges up your mitochondria, gives your body more energy. So again, maybe helped a little bit today. But coming back, you know, we did have on this time shifter app, you know, I was basically going to sleep at 10 to 11 a.m. my body time yesterday. So I took this sleep cocktail again on the plane, put on my, you know, Unabomber glasses, hoodie, and went to sleep. I ignored when they delivered the meals, and then once I, you know, kind of just woke up about 3 or 4 hours later, I did eat a little bit on the plane, and just continued to wear my red glasses on the plane because that's what it told me to do essentially. Landed in St. Louis around 2 p.m. Central Time, and then spent the majority of the time outside in the afternoon, so I got as much light as I could in my eyes and on my skin. Had a fairly early dinner around 5 p.m. Central Time, and then just tried to stay awake as long as I could. I tapped out about 8:15. My goal was to try to get to 9 p.m., but 8:15 was pretty good. Woke up about 1:30 this morning. I usually don't wake up in the middle of the night. I usually sound sleeper, but 1:30 in the morning was 8:30 my time in Italy. So got up, got a glass of water, laid back down, did some, you know, slow breathing exercises, and was able to fall back asleep. Woke up at my usual 5 a.m. Central Time, and did not feel bad upon awakening. Usually drink a couple cups of coffee in the morning. One thing I did drop on my protocol yesterday is on the time shifter app, basically no caffeine in the morning time. That sometimes would put me into acute withdrawal. So I did take a couple of NSAIDs in the morning as part of my sleep cocktail, and did not have a headache or withdrawal from caffeine, amazingly. So I had my usual caffeine doses this morning, did none, you know, yesterday. There was a short window where I could have on the plane, but I'm not drinking, you know, coffee on the plane. That's pretty much disgusting. So just went without caffeine at that point. But had a cup of coffee this morning, went out for my walk at sunrise. You know, I use the Circadian Life app to kind of tell me what the time of day for sunrise is, and when UVA comes out. I'll put a screenshot of what that looks like in my stories after this IG Live is recorded. But the Circadian Life app, you know, gives you all the time of day that you need to know about when to be outside to get the proper wavelengths of light. Just finished eating dinner about 5:45 Central Time. I'm not going to eat the rest of the night. I'm going to wear these until it gets dark in St. Louis, then throw on my red glasses, try to hopefully make it past 9 p.m. Central Time, and go back tomorrow. So I woke up at 4 a.m. in Venice yesterday, back to work today, full office schedule, full day of catching up on all the stuff I didn't catch up on in the past 2 weeks, and feel good so far. So this is probably my best jet lag mitigation protocol I've done so far on myself. So just wanted to share what I did for myself. I'll put like some of the links in my stories when we're done chatting. If you guys have any questions about jet lag mitigation, just shoot them to me in a DM or in the comments as we're going here. Next week, I'm planning to do Ask Me Anything. I'll put a little poll up if you guys want to ask questions ahead of time. And then the week after that, I'll put up a poll of like 4 or 5 topics. You guys get to vote, and I'll do it on that topic then. For those that are on my email list, if you're not on my email list, it's just drtwyman.com/news. You can sign up for it. Usually send it out once a week. I was a little bit on hiatus for the past 2 weeks while I was traveling, but this upcoming Saturday, I'm going to be talking with the Quantum Health TV people. They're having a quantum health webinar, seminar with multiple speakers. I'm going to be talking about heart health, how light affects heart. It's a free event. I'll put a link in my story as well at some point so you guys can kind of check that out if you're interested. And then, I will also be working on having my own wellness retreat. Got more inspired on this recent trip to Slovenia. I did not know a lot about Slovenia going into this trip. I was mostly looking for the Croatian part of it. But Slovenia, absolutely beautiful. If you followed my stories the past couple of days, see all the crazy pictures of the waterfalls and the gorges, and especially Lake Bled. Absolutely amazing. That church in the middle of the lake, it's like a storybook. But there's a famous doctor in the 1850s who was basically my spirit doctor essentially. He was at that time talking about taking cold baths, getting morning sun, not wearing a lot of clothes outside during the day, earthing and grounding every day, not eating early in the morning, doing a lot of walking barefoot. So definitely a kindred spirit, but kind of renewed my interest in doing more medical retreats or wellness events. I've been invited to a couple in October. I'm going to be doing my own again at the beginning part of December. I did one last year in Cancun. It's going to be in Cancun again. So if you're ever interested in attending one of these events, just be on the lookout. More messages will be coming about it in the future. But it's usually the week before Thanksgiving. This year it's going to be the week after in December. So hope you guys enjoyed my jet lag mitigation protocol, and we'll see you guys next week.